Dubbed Operation King's Fall, investigators say the crimes were happening right out in the open at a Brooksville convenience store.
America, I need to break down this massive drug bust that just went down in Florida because it shows you exactly what happens when law enforcement actually does their job. We're talking about an 11-month investigation called Operation King's Fall that took down an entire criminal organization operating out what was supposed to be a grocery store. But here's the kicker. When cops did surveillance, they barely saw anybody walking out with actual groceries. Instead, they witnessed constant drug deals, illegal gambling, and violent crimes happening right in the parking lot. This place was basically the headquarters for a criminal empire disguised as Super Saver Food Store.
Hernando County Sheriff's Office shared more details of a drug house takedown, something they're calling Operation King's Fall.
What is up, guys? Tyson De La Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. While Democrat cities are letting criminals run wild, Florida is actually taking down organized crime operations, and this is what real law enforcement looks like. Let me break down what happened in Brooksville, Florida. The Hernando County Sheriff's Office spent 11 months investigating the Super Saver Food Store, formerly called King's Food Store, and what they found is absolutely wild.
And this was an investigation that spanned close to a year, and it all focused around the Super Saver Food Store, also known as King's Market, which they say was moonlighting as a grocery store, but was really a hub for illegal activity.
This place maybe had a couple racks of chips, cookies, and drinks, that's it. But what investigators saw during surveillance was a sophisticated criminal operation, drug trafficking, illegal gambling machines, money laundering, and violent crimes happening right out in the open. According to Sheriff Al Ninehaus, they soon learned that we had a deeply embedded, a very highly organized criminal organization. The store owner, Mohammed Hassan, was allowing gang members to turn his business into a criminal headquarters.
We're talking drug dealing, gambling, fighting, illegal gambling machines, also customers being robbed, nefarious activities galore.
The level of violence was escalating to a point where even innocent customers were being targeted. Surveillance video shows a customer being pistol whipped and robbed inside the store while the clerk just stood by and watched. This wasn't just drug dealing. This was a complete criminal takeover of a business. Here's what real police work looks like. 11 months of investigation, over 9,000 man hours, extensive surveillance, undercover operations, financial analysis, and electronic monitoring. This wasn't some quick bust. This was methodical, professional law enforcement.
The investigation focused on the Super Saver Food Store, formerly known as King's. According to Hernando County Sheriff Al Ninehaus, the store's owner allowed gang members to turn the store into a hub for illegal gambling, drug trafficking, and violence.
They used confidential informants to infiltrate the organization, which Sheriff Ninehaus said was very difficult because the violence and fear of the gangs. The community was begging for help for years, but the residents were too terrified to speak up because the criminal organization's reputation of retaliation. When it came time to execute the warrants, they didn't mess around. Multiple search warrants were executed simultaneously across Brooksville, with dozens of officers involved in the coordinated raids.
Now, Mohammed Hassan, the owner of the Super Saver, was arrested along with his brother. There were 22 total arrests made, including gang members and others who were involved in this.
The results speak for themselves. 22 arrests in total, including the store owner, Mohammed Hassan, and his brother, along with documented gang members who were running this operation. The numbers from this bust are absolutely staggering, and it shows how sophisticated this criminal organization was. 3.5 pounds of cocaine worth over $100,000, 57 grams of fentanyl worth $6,000. That's enough to kill thousands of people. Multiple firearms, over $8,000 in cash, illegal gambling machines, and prescription pills. But here's what makes this even more sophisticated. 2 people were charged under RICO charges, which is racketeering. That means this wasn't just drug dealing. This was organized crime. They were running a criminal enterprise with multiple revenue streams: drug trafficking, illegal gambling, money laundering, and extortion. The fact that they're using RICO charges shows prosecutors are treating this like the organized crime operation that it was. These weren't just street dealers. They were running a sophisticated criminal business at the grocery store.
We soon learned that we had a deeply embedded and a very highly organized criminal organization.
Investigators say the criminal activity escalated to the point where even customers were targeted.
Sheriff Ninehouse made a statement that really hits home about why this operation is so important.
The real reason we do this is when these shots are fired and this violence occurs, innocent people who live in that area who have been begging us for years to do something about this, but unfortunately they're not always willing to help us because of the violence and the fear of reprisals and things like that.
Think about trying to run a legitimate business in that area when you've got criminal organizations operating right down the street. How do you compete with money laundering operations? How do you feel safe when there are shootouts in the parking lots and customers are getting robbed at gunpoint? The surveillance video of the customer being pistol whipped while the clerk just watched shows how completely this criminal organization has taken over. They weren't even trying to hide their criminal activities anymore. They were operating with complete impunity.
Surveillance video shows a customer being pistol whipped and robbed inside the store while the clerk stood by.
Something we really want to drive home is how dangerous these individuals were.
The Super Saver food store is now closed, but investigators say they expect more arrests as this is still an ongoing investigation. They dismantled the operation, but they're still tracking down everybody that was involved. In my opinion, this operation represents everything right about supporting law enforcement and giving them the resources they need to do their jobs. While Democrat-run cities are defunding the police and letting criminals run wild, Florida is actually taking down organized crime. The level of professionalism, patience, and thoroughness shown in this investigation is exactly why we need more of this across America. They didn't just arrest a few street dealers, they dismantled an entire criminal enterprise and charged the leaders under RICO.
So it was very difficult to infiltrate these types of organizations.
And the sheriff says it was really important to have those confidential informants to be able to work to this conclusion. Now that food saver, the Super Saver food store, is now closed, but they do say they expect more arrests to be made.
This is what happens when you have leadership that actually supports police instead of demonizing them. This is what happens when you give law enforcement the backing they need to conduct long-term investigations instead of just responding to crimes after they happen. The fact that this investigation took 11 months and over 9,000 man-hours shows the commitment and resources that Florida is putting behind real law enforcement. Compare that to cities like San Francisco and Portland, where they won't even prosecute shoplifting. America, Operation King's Fall shows the difference between real law enforcement and the joke we see in Democrat-run cities. While places like Chicago and New York are letting criminals walk free, Florida is actually dismantling organized crime operations. 22 criminals off the streets, a violent criminal organization destroyed, illegal drugs and weapons seized, and a community that can finally feel safe walking into the store without worrying about getting pistol whipped. This is why elections matter at every level, from sheriff to governor to president. When you elect leaders who support law enforcement instead of criminals, you get results like Operation King's Fall. The residents of that Brooksville neighborhood had been begging for help for years, living in fear of retaliation of this criminal organization. Now they can finally feel safe in their own community because law enforcement did their job. Meanwhile, in Democrat cities, they're more worried about criminals' feelings than protecting innocent people. They're defunding police while crime skyrockets and communities live in fear. Florida shows what's possible when you back the blue, give them the resources they need, and let them do their job without political interference. Let me know what you guys think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.